Hi, welcome to KiwaniTalk. We're a public information program put together by the people from the Dearborn Kiwanis Club. Helps with some of the faculty and students from Dearborn High School. My name is Gary Gardner. Welcome to our program, which is the longest running cable access television show in the entire world and the local galaxy. We're very happy to have been here for many, many years. And we're going to talk today about something that's been around even longer than we have. It's a part of Dearborn that is a big attraction, kind of a secret to people who don't know where it is, but it's a really, really neat thing. It is the Ford Homes Historic District. And to help us learn about the Ford Homes Historic District, we have Danielle Bergeron, who is the vice president. And the most important person is Erin, Keem, who's the treasurer in charge of all the money. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Gary.
Thank you,
It's
Gary.
great to have you here. So you've been part of the Ford Homes Historic District, but you didn't always live there. Erin, how did you get to that area? Where did you grow up and come
Well,
from?
I actually grew up on the east side of Detroit, very close to the Grosse Pointe border. And in 1983, I moved to Dearborn Heights. And I always passed through the Ford Homes Historic District and admired the candles in the windows and just the architecture and the beauty of the neighborhood. And in 1993, purchased a home there.
Okay, and you work around the area?
Well, my husband and I both worked for IBM, so we covered all of Southeast Michigan. So it was a very good location for us because we had access to the freeways, close to the airport, so it worked out quite well as far as travel.
How about you, Danielle? How did you wind up here? Where was your path from? Where'd you grow up?
I actually grew up in Warren, so on the east side, and I moved to Dearborn when I married my husband, Leon.
Okay.
And we did not live in a Ford home when we got married, and we were looking at buying a new home, and we looked in Livonia, and we were looking in different areas. And I just told him, I said, I can't imagine leaving Dearborn. It just feels like home. And like Erin said, I would love to live in the historic district. It's so charming. I grew up in an older home, and in 2001, we purchased our home.
So you're a newcomer to the
I am a newcomer to the to Dearborn and the Ford homes.
And all those
Yes.
other things. So what is and why is it the Ford Homes Historic District? Well, how did they get its name?
Well, in 1979, one of the residents who, oddly enough, did not live in a Ford home, but he lived on Francis, and his name is Joe Oldenburg, and his article was originally published in the Dearborn Historian in 1979, was republished again this past summer, but he put together a committee and they studied what they could do to acknowledge this as a historic district. And it's just a historic district. The homes are not historic because a lot of them had been, my term, remodeled, but additions and whatnot.
So what is an historic district? I don't understand.
Well, it's a designated area recognized by the city and the state of Michigan. And so we don't get the benefits of historic homes, no tax breaks, or we don't have deed restrictions.
You don't have restrictions. How about the restrictions on the construction? Or the
We
outside?
have, we do our very best to try to keep the facade from the curb looking like it did originally. So the 6 panels over one for the windows and the roof lines and those kinds of things, which was, how Henry designed the neighborhood, he and the architect Albert Wood. And we've been successful. We've had one home that's changed the roof line, but the rest of them have actually complied.
So the name Ford Homes has a connotation that Mr. Henry Ford is talking about. How was he involved in it, Danielle?
Well, back in 1919 and 1920, they were opening a tractor plant, and they found out that all the employees of the tractor plant were coming in on cable cars, and it was a very, very long commute. So Henry worked with his wife Clara and his architect, and they wanted to build a neighborhood and homes for the tractor plant employees. And what they did is it was a first assembly line type neighborhood, or one of the first. So when they started building the homes, they dug all the foundations, they built the basements, and they just went right down the line. They pulled all the materials in from rail cars, brought them in down the alleys, and the homes were, one of the 3 criteria that Henry Ford wanted for the district was the homes, he wanted the homes affordable for his employees, he wanted the homes to have a porch, and he wanted different models. So he didn't want a cookie cutter neighborhood where all the houses were the same. So we have different models in our neighborhood. We have models A through G.
You've gone through a whole bunch here. Let me
Yes,
back up a little bit.
sure.
Okay. So where was the tractor plant? Have you any idea where that was located?
Erin, do you know?
Yes, I believe
Yep.
it was off of Oakwood.
Oakwood Boulevard?
Correct.
Okay, near that, which is close to
Near Greenfield Village,
near
yes.
Greenfield Village. And so for people who are watching in the 42 cities who aren't as intimately familiar with Dearborn as we are, Oakwood Boulevard is is a north-south road that goes through probably about the middle of West Dearborn.
Correct.
And this Ford Homes Historic District, where in the world is that?
It's approximately 8 blocks west of there.
Of Oakwood. So it's,
Yes.
for those of you, again, Michigan Avenue runs east and west.
Right. So it's south of Michigan Avenue.
Between Auto Drive and Southfield are the big main
Are the big
drives.
yes, and then Military, which has Ford Homes on it, and Nowlin are the side streets.
So you've got an area of a number of homes that was close in proximity to the Ford tractor plant, and Henry Ford wanted to have his people be in a home, but for the family life too.
Correct. Yes.
What was his idea for that?
Well, he didn't want folks to have to drive, as Danielle said, taking streetcars and taking a couple hours to get to work. So, he was very big on family life. And another thing that he wanted was 3 bedrooms. So, there was enough room in 1919 for a family to be raised in his homes.
You could have a family of 10 in a 3-bedroom
Well,
house.
pretty much, yes, yes. And not only did he actually had Clara head up this construction project because he wanted the district to succeed or fail on its own merits. So he didn't, although it is Ford Homes, Clara was actually in charge of it. And the construction site, the construction office, the plumbing and tin mill were right at the end of, right on Nowlin, right by the railroad tracks, as well as the planing mill for the wood. So all of the stuff would come off the railroad tracks, and they did all of the work right there.
So what, for people, again, who aren't familiar, there's a main railroad track that runs
right, just south
of Michigan
south
Avenue,
of Michigan
north
Avenue.
of the Ford Homes District.
Yes.
And Henry Ford, big innovation was the assembly line for his cars. And Danielle, you alluded to that a little bit before.
I did.
That he set up the construction process for the Ford Homes District on an assembly line basis. Talk about that step by step. Well, first of all, what do you do when you build a house?
Well, the first thing that you're going to do is the houses do have basements, so they build the basements, and they would put the foundations in and basically build from the ground up, and they would just go right down the line like the assembly line in the home.
So the crews would have, so you had, the people who dug the basements, and then you had the brick masons, and then you had the rough carpenters, and so they went down the alley and they did, each home, and whoever had a specialty, then they would show up next. So. And the interesting thing, not to interrupt you, but one of the interesting things is, people think the homes are so large, and part of that is because the basements are only 4 feet underground. And the other 4 feet is above ground. So we actually have fairly decent sized windows in our basement. I mean, they're windows that open. So they look a lot taller than what they really are.
So you have a basement that, with today's standards, you can get egress, and they're probably usable if you wanted to use them for that.
Well, and yeah, my home actually had and a couple of them had access to the basement. So there was a doorway and steps. Now it has since been closed up, but a lot of them did have direct access from the basement.
So, and one of the things you talked about too, Danielle, was they would have like a little railway behind the houses to move. What would they move on this little mini railway? They'd bring in the supplies, and they had a tin shop there?
Yeah, they would bring the materials in to build
And
the
a
house.
sawmill?
They would bring
Yes.
all the lumber in. They would bring whatever materials they needed to build the houses. They would bring down the alleyway through the
But the
rollers.
main railroad would bring the materials right to the neighborhood.
Right.
And they had the
And- yeah.
sawmill
Yep.
built right up in there.
It was a milling station right in the neighborhood.
Okay. So they would go along and they built these houses, and there's, how many total homes are there in the Ford style that they were in there?
There's 250. And it's curious because people have speculated a lot over why there are some non-Ford homes mixed in. And the reason for that is we are the J.B. Maloney subdivision. And when Henry started purchasing the land, some of those lots were already sold. So there are homes in our district that are older than 100 years. We've got some that were built in 1910 and 1900. So there are some older homes, and those lots were purchased, so Henry could only purchase the ones that were available.
So when he started this process, he started around 1919, and here we are in 2019, so therefore the 100th year anniversary.
It is our centennial.
And you have, how long did it take to finish from the first home going up until the last of the 250 was constructed, if you know?
About 2 years.
Yeah, it
They
was-
did, Park and Nona were built in 1919, and I know my home was completed on October 19th in 1919. And interestingly enough, the time that it took to build was fairly quick. It was a couple months. And so he built the homes on Park and Nona in 1919, and then 1920 he started building more. And the other interesting fact there is that they changed the floor plans a little bit. They tweaked them, and some of the models don't look anything like they did in the 1919.
So, and you talk
Houses.
about models, and Henry Ford started out, his first car was the Model A.
Yeah.
And the Model T.
I'm going to guess there may be the same nomenclature for the houses. How about that?
That is a very accurate statement. So we have models A through G, and each model is different. So I live in a Model C, and all the houses are 3 bedrooms, as Erin had alluded to. But the houses are all different, so the layouts are different between Model A to Model B to Model C. And that was one of the things that was big for Henry, is he wanted the houses to be a little bit more unique. And they have so much character in the homes. And it's just such a cool neighborhood to live in and to be in, and to actually come through and walk through the homes that are on the tour this year.
So is there a major distinction between the houses? Can you tell right away if you're an aficionado or a resident? Can
Oh,
you tell
absolutely.
Yeah.
an A from a C, for example?
You may not know right away, but not a one of them looks alike. And in 1976 they were old homes, so people did things. They enclosed porches and changed a little bit things on the outside of the house, but you can still tell by the roof lines. The roof lines and the pediment above the door is very distinctive.
And so they're all the same physical size, pretty close?
Pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close.
The basement's probably all the same size?
Pretty
or
close.
Just about.
And we talked before the show, is there any sort of level of snobbery if you're a Model D versus a Model G or things like that?
Well, as I said, there probably is. There's some models that have bigger kitchens, and big is the operative word there because they're not huge. Some models have better closet space. The Model B, which is a very nice looking house, but it has very small. It's more like a closet press, not really a closet. They're very small. I live in a Model F, which is the only center entrance model that Henry built, and we have decent sized closets. So I guess there could be a little
Depends
snobbery.
on your priority as to
Well,
whether
exactly.
you want to have a bigger kitchen or
Exactly.
a bigger closet. I
Yeah.
guess. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to take a break here in real quick, and we're going to come back and talk about the Fort Holmes Historic District, which is coming up, and there's also a very special event coming up. You got people who are curious now about this will have a chance to come in, take a look inside some of these Fort Historic District homes, and it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah,
So
it's
we're
very
gonna,
cool.
we're going to talk about that. First of all, we've got a couple of words about Kiwanis. We'll talk about where to go, when to go, and how to see these homes. And are your homes on the tour or no?
No.
Okay. We won't get to see their house. We'll get to see some nice houses. Don't go away.
It's easy to get caught up in the details. The day-to-day grind, numb to the noise. Going round and round and round. Deep down, there's something missing. A void inside. A hole to fill. A life lacking. Then, in a minute of clarity, it hits you. The aha moment. You're needed. Kids need you. Kids of all kinds. All these funny, rambunctious, sweet, attention-seeking, vulnerable bundles of energy. They need your love and support. Some have huge life hurdles. Poverty, disease, hunger, and they're reaching out for you. Around the corner, around the world. You are a Kiwanian at heart, a role model, a guide, a builder of dreams. Together, we are Kiwanis, passionate and strong, ready to move mountains or grains of sand. Imagine every child reaching their potential. The power to help is in you. It's not about us. It's about them. Do you hear the call? Kids need Kiwanis. Kiwanis needs you.
Welcome back to KiwaniTalk. I'm your host, Gary Gardner. We're talking about old things, kind of like me, but older than I am. And it's the Ford Homes Historic District, and they're coming up with a tour. We've been talking about these homes, it's a really cool neighborhood. Talk about, Dan, you talked about walking through the neighborhood before you came, and what was the attraction that you saw before you wanted to move to the neighborhood?
The attraction that I saw is when we were walking through the neighborhood, there were candles in the windows in almost every home we walked through in the evening.
They have electricity, right?
They have electricity.
Oh, just decorative candles.
It was
Okay.
decorative candles, and that's something that the neighborhood does and the neighbors do to add ambiance to the homes. The architect was just very, very unique. And they're older homes, it's an older neighborhood. The trees on the streets are huge, and it's a canopy when you drive down in the fall. It's beautiful. In the wintertime when we get snow on the trees, it's just breathtaking. It was just a really interesting neighborhood to move into.
And you like looking in the windows?
Yes, I did admit that when we first moved in. It was like, oh, what did they get that we didn't? I live in one of the homes that was first built, so I always joke that they made the mistakes on my house and then they rectified them as they moved on down the street. So it's like, wow, what did they get? Oh, do they have a closed chute? Do they have, a bay window? So it's always interesting to see what...
And you got to see some interesting things in some of the windows. The houses had some names.
They did. I actually, everybody would say, well, what house did you move into? And they'd say, I moved into the, Beckett house, or I moved into the, Ludwig house or whatever. And I would say, I moved into the Tippett house. And everybody's like, what? I'd tell them where it was. Oh, the nude house.
Well, but there's a story behind that.
There is a story. Phyllis Tippett, who's a lovely lady, they owned the house for 52 years, and she was a painter.
Okay.
And still is a painter. She's still around, and
She had a studio set up there, nudes in the living room?
Well, I don't know that she had a studio, but they spent all their time in the dining room, and she had a very large painting of a nude lady hanging on the dining room wall. And they did not have window treatments. So people would walk around the neighborhood and they'd go, oh, the nude house.
Okay.
It's like,
So
we
you like
live in the
looking
nude
in
house.
windows?
Do like
My
looking
wife
in
loves
windows.
doing that too. Her probation's over soon, but
Yeah,
we'll
well,
get
okay,
through
I'll
that.
have to get her lawyer, so in case I get caught.
And by the way, we're talking with the Vice President of Dearborn, the Ford Homes Historic District, Danielle Bergeron, and also the Treasurer, Erin Keem. I'm sorry for not reintroducing you.
That's okay.
So there's this great neighborhood. It's close. It's in Dearborn, and there's a tour going through. When's the tour coming up?
Sunday, December the 8th, from noon until 6. We have 15 lovely homes on the tour. Great opportunity. We have a couple repeat models, but every home is unique, as Danielle said, and part of the charm is to see how people actually decorate their homes during the holidays. So you get that, that feeling of the holiday spirit and how they each homeowner celebrates. So it's a great opportunity to see some historic homes and also appreciate people's decorating taste.
So physically, how big is the neighborhood? How many blocks does it go from east to west?
It's 6 blocks.
So you can walk it?
You
Is
can
it a
walk
walking
it.
tour,
Yes,
or is
yes.
it-
We're still working on getting a shuttle for folks that may, we never know what the weather's going to be like. It's always pretty when we get a little snowfall, but
Right.
it's always not so good for people to have to walk too far. So we're going to try to get some shuttles and help, escort people from block to block. So.
And where do you pick up your tickets, or where does this start? the tour?
At Duval School.
And Duval School is on Military Street.
It's on Military and Beach.
Right, so it's
Yes.
Military runs right into Michigan Avenue
It does.
in West Dearborn, and then you go down to Duval School, and you can't miss it because it's right there.
It's
in the
right
corner.
there.
It's right
Yeah.
there. You'll
Yeah.
run right
And
into it.
are tickets available online somewhere?
They are $20 in advance. They're $25 the day of the tour. They're available on our website, which is fordhomes.org. We have 6 merchants in the Dearborn area here that are selling tickets.
And those are Speckles and Splatter, Fairlane Florist, McFadden Ross House, Dearborn Brewing, Z-Coil, and Cabinets to Go.
Correct.
So it's all part of the neighborhood.
Yes.
You know, those people.
Yeah, great supporters. All of the merchants are very supportive of our district. We've had a lot of folks place ads in our tour book, which certainly helps us support the cost, defray the cost of having that printed. So we're very lucky to have a lot of sponsors that are helping us.
And so when people come in, they can, not the whole, you don't get to go in the basement, open the closet doors.
No.
That's but
First floor only.
first floor only, and you get to see what those houses are like.
Yeah,
And
yeah. You have to have some place to hide all the stuff that you use in your day-to-day living, so
Right.
that goes upstairs,
Upstairs or downstairs.
downstairs. Yeah.
And we'll have docents in the home, so the docents will be able to give some history in the home, as
Okay.
well as the homeowners, and have some fun facts. One of the things that we're also going to do is we've been afforded some use of some classic cars, so we're going to have some Model Ts in the driveways spattered throughout the neighborhood. So that is going to be a very unique and very cool thing for individuals to see.
so on Sunday, December 8th,
Yes.
between noon and 6, you can go through and take a look at, is there any time limit in the house, or you can, but you can, there's people coming through. That you want to
Yeah,
move along.
they try to pace it so you have enough time to ask questions and take everything in and
Enjoy the home.
Enjoy the home, and
Yeah.
then move on to the next one.
And there's 15 different
There's
houses?
there's 15, which is aggressive, but it's our centennials, so we wanted to go big or go home.
So if you were to be touting, and I'm sure you do tout, but you don't want a whole bunch of people coming in, the nicest thing about your neighborhood now that you've been there for how many years?
26 years.
Okay, and Danielle, you've been there
15, 16,
years. Yeah,
yes.
okay, what would you say to people about the neighborhood?
Boy, I'd have to say it's the close-knit community. I mean, we
Yeah.
we do this home tour every few years as a fundraiser to get funds to do things for the neighborhood. So we do an Easter egg hunt for the kids. We do a 4th of July bike parade. We do a Halloween walk and a pumpkin judging contest. We have Santa. So it's all about the neighborhood and things that we can do to bring families together to spend time and enjoy each other.
Are there a lot of kids in the neighborhood?
There are quite a few.
We're getting some younger families moving in, so we've had an influx of kids coming into the neighborhood, and it's great to see. You walk down the street and you're walking your dog, and people know you. People will stop and say hello. It's the old feel of an old neighborhood.
Yeah.
They know your names. People have, a key to your house to be able to let your dogs out for you, and the neighbors watch out for each other.
And I can imagine that at Halloween, there's probably some people that go a little bit over the top.
Yeah. And we encourage that. Like I said, we have a little Halloween walk, and people donate food. We have a homeowner that hosts it, and people gather there and they walk about and vote on the best pumpkins and the best decorations.
Decorations.
And then Christmas, I mean, with the whole feel of the old school and the neighborhood as you've described it, with the trees and the old structures, what's that like?
It is such a unique thing to be able to come and see, and some of the special things that we're doing for the home tour this year is we have some strolling carolers that are going to be some high school students. They volunteered their time from 12 until 3, and then from 3 until 6 we have the Red Velvet carolers coming through. And again, it's going to be a walking carolers that are coming through the neighborhood, and that
It's only on the December 8th.
It's only
Correct.
on the
They're
day.
not there all the way
They're
through
not
Christmas.
all, not all the way
Only
throughout
one
the
day.
year.
But we'll have a Santa visit, and that's always good. One of the homeowners opens their home and,
Yeah.
and has Santa, and the kids love it. And, we do a little cider and donuts and that kind of stuff. So,
It's got to be just a great feeling to be in that part of that community.
yeah, it really is. I mean, a few times I've thought about I broke my leg 2 years ago, and it's like boy, having one bathroom upstairs is not necessarily a good idea, but you know, you can't beat it. I mean, and you meet so many people in the neighborhood, and it's just so enjoyable, and all of the activities and the camaraderie.
Yeah, it's close-knit.
Yeah.
Is there much turnover of the houses? If they come up, how quick do they go when they get?
You know, it depends. Sometimes, typically, the homes go fairly quick. Now the market is a little bit more hot in real estate, so we've had a home sell in a week, and it just depends on the time of year. So like I said, it really depends.
So you've been there for a little while. You're planning on staying.
Yes.
Can you commend it to people to stay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
People don't leave.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of they just don't, or their kids come in and, you know, after mom and dad retire and move to a smaller home, or, you know, move down to Florida, the kids come in and buy the house from the parents. So we get a lot of
we
that.
have one family that will be on the tour who have lived in the district for 30 years, I think, and raised 4 children in the home. 3 of the 4 children live in Ford homes, and the 4th one is a block away. So
They're trying to keep close to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
plus you've got Duval Schools right there
right,
too.
Yeah.
which is a great school.
Nice little school, one of the top rated. I see the sign on the side, one of the
Yeah.
top
Yeah.
whatever schools in the state, and it's close. It's right there.
Yeah.
It is. And Duval School was built when the houses were being built for the influx of students that were coming into the neighborhood,
Well,
the children.
it sounds like it's going to be an extraordinary event. And is there a reason you don't have your houses on the tour?
We're on the committee. We've
Oh,
both been on the tour
We've both
in the
been
past.
on the tour.
Okay.
The year I was on the tour, we were refurbishing, stripping woodwork. My husband built a new banister to look like the old one, and a new mantle. And 2 weeks before, 2 weeks before the home tour, we had this much plaster dust in our foyer.
Oh, boy.
And I was the chair of the home tour.
It's a good incentive to get them to finish it. Right?
Well,
It
it
is a
was,
good
and that's
incentive.
what I said, you know. But that was 20 years ago, so I was a little bit younger.
So once again, Sunday.
December the 8th.
From 12 until 6.
That's a little pattern we got
It
going.
was a
Yeah.
little pattern.
Yeah.
Tickets available at Duval School or online at fordhomes.org. We have a PayPal site,
You can do it all online, secure
all online, yeah.
payments.
Or visit one of our local
Vendors.
merchants.
And again,
so.
the merchants are Speckles and Splatter, Fairlane Florist, McFadden Ross House, Dearborn Brewing, Z-Coil, and Cabinets to Go.
To go.
So I would commend you. I mean, it's a beautiful neighborhood. It's close to where I live, and you know we like walking through there once in a while. We don't go often enough because our one dog is kind of hard to walk that far, but we love it. If you get a chance, go see it. I want to thank Danielle Bergeron for coming. I want to thank Erin Keem for coming,
We thank you
Thank
for
you,
having
Gary.
us.
and good luck with the tour and good weather and continued long-term longevity in the houses there.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks for watching KiwaniTalk. See you next time. Bye-bye.